Elden Ring Nightreign's crater is easily its best shifting earth location. Between its simple layout and its abundance of easy bosses and elite enemies, each with a decent chance of dropping rare and even legendary items, the crater is super consistent and allows you to make very powerful builds. And its forge, which allows you to upgrade any weapon to legendary status, takes that even further. Hi everyone, my name's Demihuman, and today I'm going to walk you through Elden Ring Nightreign's crater. Before we go inside the crater itself, which is something you should do on day 2, I want to talk about a couple things outside of the crater that you can hit on day 1. First, on the northeast corner of the crater's rim, there's a guaranteed flying dragon spawn. This guy is super easy and he actually doesn't fly that much despite his name, nor does he breathe fire like the bigger dragon field bosses. Kill him for a small chance of a legendary and a bunch of runes, and then head south. There's this cliff here to the southwest of a spirit tree, which has a site of grace and usually has a church or a mage rise on it. Keep in mind that there's a bunch of finger creepers on the higher cliff there. You want to drop down to the lower cliff where the site of grace is. So you're going to drop down the cliff over here, and again, you see me coming directly to it from the west. You can see this enormous collapsed pillar here. In the cliff wall to the right of that is a cave entrance. Inside the cave, there's a bunch of corpses and a chest which can drop legendary items, and there's also a Demihuman Queen boss you can kill for a loot sphere here. Kill her. Be careful of the Demihuman chiefs around here. They can be really dangerous if you're low level, which you usually are on day 1. Make sure you loot the corpses around her, because I know at least one of them can drop a legendary. And then after that, you're going to head southeast and follow the cliff, and you'll come to this little hill here that lets you come out of the crater, and I strongly recommend you spend the rest of day 1 clearing out the castle, and if you have time then you can hit a couple Everjails and a flask church or 2. As soon as day 2 starts, you want to rush towards the crater. I recommend coming at it from the south through the ravine, which takes you straight to the Falling Star Beast. However, if you're on the east side of the map, then you can kill the field boss that's by this tree over here, and then you can ride the Spectral Hawk up to the Everjail over there, which has a field boss next to it, so you can clear the Everjail, kill the field boss, and then head west into the crater through that hill that we just took. Or alternatively, if you're on the west side of the map, then you can drop down to the Flask Church, which is guaranteed to spawn in the crater, and make your way to the Falling Star Beast from there. So like I said, I recommend coming through the ravine. You can take the spirit stream at the north end of the ravine, and it'll drop you right next to the Falling Star Beast over here. There's a bunch of corpses down here by the Falling Star Beast, so I landed next to one, and then you see to the east over there's more that I already looted. Those corpses have a chance of dropping legendaries. There's like 5 or 6 of them that can drop legendaries, and there's a couple other corpses around, but just loot all of them, and you have a pretty good chance of getting a legendary weapon from at least one of them. It's not guaranteed, but it's like a 5% chance per corpse, and there's like 5 or 6 corpses, so it's like technically like a 30% chance to get a legendary. So loot those, kill the Falling Star Beast. He's pretty easy. He's weak to elemental damage in case you have access to that. Once he's dead, you're going to head to the west, and you see that there's this southern spirit tree here. So you can see it marked on your map. You're going to drop down, follow the pillar down, and this takes you into the tunnels that'll lead you to the forge at the bottom of the crater. So along the way, there's a couple fire prelates. This first one has a hammer. He's super easy to kill. Kill him, and he drops a loot sphere with a decent chance for a legendary. After that, there's a hole right here that we're going to drop down. You could stay on the top level here. I think there's like a corpse to loot at the end, but I don't know if it drops legendaries or not. I never bothered to loot it. I always just drop down the hole, hit the grace for a refresh and a level up if you have the runes for it, then keep heading north. On your left side past the braziers here, there's going to be I'm going to call this guy the whip guy, and we're going to talk about him toward the end of the video again, but you can kill the whip guy. He drops another loot sphere. It has a chance of being legendary. There's also these flame guardians here. They can drop your staff, which will always have some kind of thorn sorcery on it, so if you're like Duchess or Recluse, that might be useful. And they drop an okay number of runes, and they're super quick to kill, so I usually just kill them. Keep heading north. On your left side here, there's like this magma pit, and it's got a bunch of corpses and stuff. I'm not sure if they drop legendaries or not. I never loot them, but at least now you know they're there, and you might want to check them out on your own. Keep heading north, and now we're going east. There's another group of fire guardians here that you can kill. Head around the corner from them, and there's this boss fight. So it's 2 fire monks and a fire prelate. They are all one boss, so you need to kill all 3 of them in order to progress here. Again, super easy enemies. Kill them, hit the site of grace, and then we're going to go into this hallway to the east, and we're going to follow it to the southeast around the corner. It's a pretty long run, so I'm going to skip it. Here's a pro tip: if you jump while you're going downhill, you get a little speed boost, so that's why you see me jumping there. don't bother killing the flame chariots because they only drop 8,000 runes and they take forever to kill. There are these 4 corpses at the end of this hallway here. At least one of them has a chance of dropping a legendary. I think it might be all 4 of them, but I know at least one of them can drop a legendary. So loot them, and then you're going to go around the corner, and we're going to head to the south. You'll want to stay on the left here, and you're going to pass by this little room that has a bunch of finger creepers on the wall. There's a scarab spawn in that room, so you always want to check that out. And then once you come out, you can go to the right, past the Grace, keep heading to the southwest. You'll run past a bunch of finger creepers, and you can drop down this drop here. If you have something like the Grafted Blade Greatsword or the Marae Executioner's Sword, killing those finger creepers is a great way to get stacks, by the way, because they're super quick to kill, and there's a lot of them. But yeah, so drop down. So normally you won't go this way to the southwest, but I'm going to show on top of this rooftop thing, there's a scarab spawn at the end over there, and there's also a bunch of enemies and a couple corpses on the bottom to the southwest over there. So again, usually not worth checking out, but now you know they're there. But typically what you want to do is head to the northeast when you drop down, and that'll take you over to the legendary forge. There's a magma worm here, and you have to kill the magma worm before you can use the forge. He's pretty easy. Go for headshots. He's weak to pierce damage, I think, and you can use something like your Ash of War, like I did with Raider, to stop him. That'll stun him and stop him from doing his charge, where he just charges back and forth like 18 times in a row. But anyway, so once he's dead, you can go up to the forge and craft a legendary weapon. So here's a pro tip. You should craft a weapon that has something that the boss is weak to. So in this case, I was fighting Sentient Pest, so I upgraded my fire weapon because the Sentient Pest is weak to fire. So, there's a pro tip with Diabetor in case you didn't have common sense. Once you're done down here, there's a tree that you can take, and it'll bring you up to the north end of the crater. So if you don't have time because the circle's closing in or whatever, you can head to that spirit stream over there on the left, and there's a Demihuman Queen you can kill there. But usually you will have time, in which case you're going to land by this spirit tree right here, and you can get on this and ride it towards the south. You'll pass by the Flask Church, and there's a Valiant Gargoyle that I have marked on the map there. So don't stop at the church. A lot of people make this mistake. They go to the church and then the gargoyle. We're going to kill the gargoyle first, so you can see I used the descend feature on the hawk to get over to where the gargoyle is. So kill the gargoyle first, and then we're going to head up past the church and get the flask charge from it after killing the gargoyle. So it's a waste of time if you go to the church, then the gargoyle, and then back to the church. You feel me? So I see a lot of people do that. But anyway. So kill the gargoyle, grab the loot from him. You saw I got a legendary there. He's got a pretty decent chance of dropping legendaries. And then you want to head up this pillar here. I like to go up the right side because the left side can be kind of tricky to jump up. Climb up the cliff, and this will take you straight to the church. There's a damage buff here that I like to grab because we're about to go kill 2 more bosses. Inside the church, you can grab another flash charge, and there's also a merchant in this one where you can buy some stuff in case you want consumables. If you're someone like Revenant or whatever, I recommend you pick up the Starlight shards from him if you haven't already, because, it's convenient. He's right there. After that, head to the northwest, and there's a spirit stream. If the circle is not closing in yet, then you have time to go to the southwest over here, where there's a regular field boss spawn. So in this case, I got a formidable boss, but this is like a regular map field boss. It's not here because of the crater, so it can be any field boss, you feel me? It's not always going to be a dragon. It might be something like a Grafted Scion or something like that. So in my case, I got a dragon, which is a formidable boss, but I had time to kill him. Once he is dead, or if you don't have time to go for that field boss, you can head to the north, and in this spot, there is a guaranteed red wolf spawn. So if you have the crater, this boss will always be a red wolf. So you can plan for that ahead of time. They're a pain in the ass to kill. I recommend bringing something like a pulley crossbow so you can shoot them at range or whatever. Once the red wolf is dead, you can then head to the northeast, drop down the cliff here past the wolves, and there's a Demihuman Queen that you can kill. So like I said before, if you don't have time after killing the magma worm, you want to come get this Demihuman Queen and then go to the final circle where the tree's at. But if you do have time, you do all this shit, then the Demihuman Queen will be the last boss you kill before the night boss. There's also a Set of Grace afterwards. You may have to kill some Demihumans in order to activate it if they're too close to it. After that, you can then take the spirit stream over to the tree over here. So where these ruins are at, there's 2 corpses. The one on the right up here on top of this C-shaped ruin, this one has a chance of dropping legendaries. In my case, I didn't get one, but it does have a chance of dropping them. This corpse in the middle, I'm not sure if this one has a chance to drop legendaries or not, but it only takes a second to loot it, and you're going to pass by it anyway, so you might as well. And then if you have some extra time left, you might want to head over to the east over here, where, one, there's a scarab spawn to the north of this collapsed pillar, so there's your scarab if you want a talisman, and there's also a bunch of enemies down here that you can kill for runes, in case you want to buy more stuff from the spirit shelter, merchant, or whatever. And then once you're done with all that, you can head over to the north, and the tree will always spawn on this spot at the end of day 2 if you have the crater. Now, before I end the video, there's a couple easy shortcuts I want to talk about. The first one is on the northeast side of the crater, so past where the dragon is, if you drop down past the spirit stream, you see the collapsed pillar where the scarab spawn was. If you come to the south of that, you can drop down into this little cave thing here. There's a bunch of fire guardians and a couple corpses you can loot. I don't know if they drop legendaries or not, but you can loot them. Then you can head over to the west and drop down. There's another level here that has a bunch of fire guardians on it for some more runes. There's another corpse. I don't know if it drops legendaries or not, but you should loot it, because why not? In this clip, I killed them because I was like level 2. This isn't a terrible idea if you're on day 1. And then you could drop down to the third level here, where there is a corpse, or excuse me, a chest. I'm not sure if it can drop legendaries or not, but again, check it out and see what you get. And then finally, you can drop down to the 4th level, and this is the level where the Fire Prelate's boss is. So you can kill the Fire Guardians here, you can kill the Fire Prelate boss for some runes and a loot sphere. They're pretty easy to kill even on day 1 when you're a low level. So, if you spawn close to the crater, this might not be a bad idea. I don't recommend you go down to the magma worm, and I'll talk more about that in a second. So, alternatively, if you're on the west side of the crater, you can come over to this like cliff thing here next to the tree, to the west of the tree that's on the north side of the crater. So you can drop down to this little lava pool. Here it is on the map once more. And then if you drop down further, you can do a sprint jump, and you can drop over here to the 4th level, where again, you're right next to the Fire Prelate's boss. So you could go that way to the east and kill the Fire Prelates and maybe head down to the magma worm. Or you can kill those guys and then come back here to the southwest. You can go and kill the whip guy over there. I told you I'd mention him again. You can kill the whip guy for his loot sphere, and then take the tree that's here. It's not marked on the map, but there is a tree here. This takes you out over to the Demihuman Queen cave, where you can then go and kill the Demihuman Queen, loot her stuff, and then proceed as normal, like I talked about at the beginning of the video. So, that's some routing tips. There might be a better route for, doing something like this if you take shortcuts down into the crater. I got fucking murked by a demi-human chief there. I told you to be careful of them. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. Please leave a like, share the video, consider subscribing, and consider joining my channel as a member. The support really helps me out a lot. My name is Diabedor, and I will catch you later.